I'm now going to add a blueberry to the center of the eyes here to be either the iris or the pupil, depending on how you interpret this. I'm not really sure. I'm going to go ahead and find it. I think it's this one. I should rename these. Okay, there's a blueberry. And the blueberries are not perfectly round or circular, but I think I want the blueberry in my image to be a perfect circle, perfectly smooth, perfectly round. And so I'm actually going to go to the elliptical marquee tool to create a selection of this blueberry here. Okay, so I'm going to be using this one because it's the one that isn't occluded by the others. I'm going to point towards the center, and I'm going to hold down Shift to make the ellipse perfectly round, and Alt so that I can drag from the center out. And I want to get it about the right size, and obviously I did not point directly at the center. But when I release, I can then click inside and reposition this until I think it fits the blueberry as perfectly as possible. And there's some kind of choice there, but you see it is pretty round. So I think this should work. To check it out, I'm going to go into Select and Mask, and here you see the result. Because this was the elliptical marquee, it's a perfectly round and smooth anti-aliased selection. And I think it worked pretty well. I could try shifting the edge in if there's a little bit of stuff that was on there I didn't want. Notice that sometimes when you shift the edge in, you get that pixelization, that aliasing around the edge, in which case you can add a little feathering to soften that again. I think the selection I had to start with was fine, but I'm going to go ahead and work with this because that looks pretty good too. I could look at this as a black and white image just to double check. I'm going to look at this onion skin, and I can see shifting in. I did lose a little bit around the edge, but it doesn't really affect what I'm getting. So I'm just going to go with that. Okay, now I could again create a layer mask, and then if I wanted to, that means that I could come back and get any part of that missing image. But just to show you a different technique, this is more of a destructive technique because I'm not bringing that with me, but I do have the original image here that I could go back to. Instead of creating a layer mask and moving this over the other image, I'm just going to copy and paste. So with this selection, I'm going to Control C or Command C, whatever, you see it here in the Edit menu. So I've copied. If I go to the, let's say I don't see the melon head, then I can just paste. And you see that this is not real big. I'm going to zoom in here a little closer. So there's not a lot of resolution to give up. But there it is. I'm going to, I don't know, name this iris. I'm not sure if that's really what it should be. And then I'm going to duplicate this. Now, I'm not going to bother making a container smart object out of this. I'm just going to drag. I'm going to hold down the Shift key to constrain that so that they're perfectly level with each other. And they're different positions I could go with. I'm going to stick it right there, and yeah, nudge it over using the arrows on the keyboard. Whatever works. Might be slightly cross-eyed there, but I'm going to go with that. So here we've got iris and iris copy. They were cut and pasted, so there's no layer mask. What's there is there. If I want any more of the blueberry, I'm going to have to go back to the original image for that. Okay, let's look at something else.